You gave her your loyalty, and she gave you silence. Not just the silence that comes with time or distance, but the kind that cuts deep, the kind that stings with betrayal, confusion, and that gut-wrenching feeling that everything you built, everything you believed in, was never enough. But listen to me, you're not alone. So many men, especially in their late 30s or early 40s, have felt this, that quiet torment. The questions that never leave. Why did she leave? Was it my fault? And why does she want me back now? After everything, it's not just about losing her. It's about losing the version of you that still believed in her, the version of you that still hoped. But here's the shift you were never taught to make. Most men, they beg for closure, but Stoic men, they become it. While others spiral into regret and self-doubt, you rise in silence. You rebuild your worth. You reclaim your direction. Because the pain isn't what defines you, your response to it does. So let me ask you something. Will you let betrayal define your future? Or will you use it to become the kind of man no one can break again? This is the path of the unshakable man. A man who doesn't chase, who doesn't beg, who doesn't need her to come back, because he already came back to himself. And when you walk this path, everything changes. The way you see love, the way you protect your peace, the way you walk away with dignity, while she watches and regrets everything she lost. Start this journey right now. Don't wait for her apology. Don't wait to feel ready. You're ready because you're here. Drop a 1 if you've ever been betrayed. Drop a 2 if you're rebuilding yourself right now. I read every comment. I see you, I feel you, and stick with me. Because in just a moment, I'll reveal what really happens when she comes back, and why your answer will shape the rest of your life. 1. The breakup was her escape, not your failure. She didn't leave because you weren't good enough. She didn't walk away because of one argument, or because you didn't love her well. The truth is, she left because she had already been drifting away, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, long before the moment you realized something was wrong. When a person doesn't have the strength to face their own disconnect, they often manufacture conflict to justify their exit. That final argument, that unexpected coldness, it wasn't the cause of the breakup. It was the disguise. There's a particular pain that comes from being left without clarity, especially for men who've built their lives around loyalty and stability. You showed up every day, you tried, you stayed when it was hard. And when someone walks away from that, without honesty, without integrity, it's easy to question your own worth. But don't. What she did was not a reflection of your value. It was a reflection of her fear. Fear of depth, fear of intimacy, fear of confronting herself and the parts of her heart that still needed healing. For men in their late 30s or 40s, this kind of abandonment feels like betrayal layered in silence. You've invested years, effort, love, and suddenly it feels like none of it mattered. But here's the truth. It did matter. It mattered to you. And what matters to you is what builds your character. She may have left to escape the mirror you held up to her, one that reflected growth, responsibility, and emotional maturity. Her leaving wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of a deeper chapter, one where you no longer chase answers from someone who couldn't face the truth. And in that moment, you don't just survive, you evolve. Because when a woman walks away from a man who showed up with real love, it's not his failure, it's her fear disguised as freedom. 2. Betrayal doesn't define you. Your response does. Betrayal has a way of stealing the breath from your lungs, not just because someone broke your trust, but because it shatters the image you had of them and of yourself with them. It's not just the cheating that hurts. It's the months of pretending, the way she looked you in the eye while her heart was somewhere else. It's the realization that while you were all in, she was already halfway out. That kind of pain doesn't just cut, it echoes, especially when you gave her loyalty, consistency, and a love that asked for nothing but honesty in return. But here's the truth. What defines you is not what she did. It's what you choose to do next. You are not the betrayal. You are not the rejection. You are the man standing in the aftermath, deciding who he will become through it. That is where your power lives, not in erasing what happened, but in refusing to let it harden your heart or shrink your spirit. Pain like this invites you into a deeper kind of strength, the quiet, steady kind, the kind that doesn't need revenge or validation, the kind that allows you to feel every ounce of the heartbreak and still rise the next morning with a commitment to rebuild your life on your own terms. And as you do, something shifts. The betrayal stops being your story and instead becomes the fire that forged your next chapter. You stop asking why she did it and start asking what you've learned about yourself, what you will no longer tolerate, what you now expect, what kind of peace you will protect at all costs. Because at the end of the day, her betrayal revealed who she was. But your response? That reveals the man you are. And when you stand tall in the face of that kind of pain, not bitter, but wiser, you carry with you something far more valuable than revenge. You carry your integrity, and that is something no one can take from you. 3. Turning heartbreak into your turning point. There's a moment after heartbreak when the silence becomes louder than her absence. When you wake up and reach for someone who's no longer there, and all that's left is the echo of what used to be. It's in that silence that most men either break or begin again. And the truth is, heartbreak, raw and uninvited, carries within it a strange kind of opportunity. Not the kind you'd ever ask for, but the kind that, if you're strong enough to face it, will change you forever. You see, what she took when she walked away wasn't just her presence. She took the version of you that needed her to feel whole. She took the illusion. And what's left now is the man you really are, untied, exposed, but finally free. Free to rebuild not the life you had with her, but the one you may have forgotten you wanted before she arrived. This is where the real turning point begins, not in pretending you're unaffected, but in allowing the pain to shape you without letting it own you. It starts in the small decisions, choosing the gym over the bottle, choosing stillness over chaos, choosing purpose over distraction. And somewhere in the middle of all that self-rebuilding, you begin to notice something profound. You're no longer waiting for her to come back. You're no longer wishing the past had gone differently. You're no longer the man who needed closure. Because in healing yourself, you found something more valuable than any apology she could ever offer. You found direction. So yes, your heart may have broken, but maybe it broke open to let in light, to make space for a deeper kind of strength, and to wake you up to who you are without her. And once you see that version of yourself, there's no going back. This isn't just recovery, it's your rebirth. And from this moment forward, you don't chase love. You become the man it cannot help but find. 4. When she returns, it's not love, it's nostalgia. When she reaches back out after months of silence, it doesn't mean she suddenly realized you're her soulmate. It doesn't mean she's been sitting with the depth of her mistake and is now ready to love you the way you always deserved. What it means, more often than not, is that something in her present doesn't feel as safe, as warm, or as familiar as what you once gave her. And now, instead of facing her discomfort alone, she reaches for something she once knew. But what she's seeking isn't always you. It's the feeling of being loved by someone who never stopped showing up. That isn't love. That's nostalgia. It's easy to confuse the two when her words are wrapped in apology and emotion, when she says she misses you, when she calls late at night, saying things that once would have meant everything. But look closer. Is she offering anything new? Is she owning her choices, not just explaining them away with trauma or timing? Or is she simply seeking comfort in the same arms she once left behind? You have to be honest with yourself, not because you're cold, but because you've grown. You've learned how easily feelings can disguise themselves as love, when, in reality, they're just longing for familiarity. She may feel drawn to you because in her chaos, you were calm. In her confusion, you were stable. But that's not the same as real commitment. That's not the same as choosing you. And you, the man you are now, no longer confuse attention with affection. You understand that someone who truly values you doesn't walk away and come back when it's convenient. They stay, they work, they grow. So when she returns, let yourself feel whatever comes up. But remember, what she misses may not be you. It may only be the version of herself that felt safe when she was with you. That's not love. That's a memory. 5. You're not bitter, you're better, and that changes everything. There's a quiet strength in choosing to let go without hatred, to feel the weight of betrayal and still refuse to let it poison your heart. You could have become cold. You could have shut down and built walls so high that no one could ever reach you again. But you didn't. You chose something far more powerful. You chose healing. You chose growth. You chose to become better. Not for her, not to prove anything, but because you finally realized your worth was never tied to who stayed or who left. You're not bitter because you understand that bitterness is a prison built from other people's actions. It locks you in with their choices and robs you of your future. But when you decide that your life is still yours to shape, despite the lies, despite the betrayal, you begin to rewrite the story on your own terms. You stop defining yourself by what happened to you and start standing on who you've become through it. You're better because now you know the signs. You know the value of emotional safety. You know how to listen to your gut. You've learned how to protect your peace without becoming guarded, how to stay open without being naive. And more than anything, you've learned that your love is not a gift to be wasted on someone who hasn't done the work to receive it. Being better doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you feel deeply, but you respond wisely. You no longer react out of pain. You act out of principle. You lead with clarity, not confusion. And that shift, that quiet transformation, is what sets you apart. It's not the ending that defines you. It's the way you rose from it, with grace, with dignity, and with a commitment to never abandon yourself again. That's not bitterness. That's power. And from here on out, you carry it into everything you do. Sometimes the worst kind of pain doesn't destroy you. It awakens you. Reading through this journey, I'm reminded of something many men in their 30s and 40s eventually face. The moment when love doesn't just walk away, it betrays you, confuses you, and forces you to confront who you are without it. These stories don't just reflect heartbreak, they reflect transformation. What stood out most to me was the truth that her leaving wasn't a sign of failure. It was a revelation, a spotlight shining on all the places she wasn't ready to grow. And as brutal as it feels in the moment, sometimes people exit your life not to break you, but to make space for you to finally meet the strongest version of yourself. The betrayal, while devastating, doesn't get the final word. The real power lives in how you respond, in the choice to not become bitter, but better, in picking up the pieces of your identity and deciding, piece by piece, who you want to become from here. That's not weakness. That's a kind of manhood no one teaches us, but life demands we find. And perhaps the most important lesson. When she comes back, and they often do, you'll realize what she's searching for is not love, but comfort. But by that time, you'll no longer be someone she can return to. Not out of anger, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself that once needed her validation. The real takeaway is this: healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering clearly without the weight. It means walking forward with a heart that's been tested and a spirit that's been refined by fire. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You only need this truth. The man you became after the storm is far more valuable than the one who was left behind in it. Was there anything on this list that caught you off guard? Anything that made you pause and reflect? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, not just for engagement, but because this is a space for real connection, for growth, for truth. If you found this video meaningful, tap that like button. It's the simplest way to help spread the message to someone else who might need it right now. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Stoic Station and hit that notification bell so you never miss the next reminder. Thanks for spending this time with us. Wishing you a peaceful day. I'll see you in the next video.